Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents on Prime Day. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. About to connect with our friends over on IG so they can be part of our conversation. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live. Have a great guest that's joining us today. We've had conversations before on the radio show, Conversations Live, but he's making his very first appearance with us here on Amazon with a brand new project that you guys can be able to get now. So you guys are going to really enjoy this. And we're now live on the Amazon Live platform with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on Amazon here on Prime, this is the perfect time to be able to give us a follow. You'll see the follow button either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the book by our next guest. I'm so excited to welcome Michael Cory Davis to our broadcast today. You guys have gotten to know him as an actor. You've known him as an activist. But I was just saying to him before we went live, he's adding another A now. He's now a triple A. He's now an author as well. His book, Trap City of
Yes.
Angels, is out now. You all can see it in the carousel. You can get it right now, either the print edition or the Kindle edition. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. I want to talk to Michael not only about this chapter for him, but also what it's been like for him to take issues that are important for him, put those in these novel, and now for you all to be able to read it. Michael, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it, man.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, look, man, the pleasure is definitely all mine. I'm very excited about this. I reached out to you as soon as I saw that you had Trap coming out because one, I knew I wanted to be able to talk to you, but also just to talk about this experience. And I do want to kind of let our audience know something. You didn't know I was going to do this, Michael. But Michael and I have been friends for so long. Michael was on the cover of our magazine back in
Yes.
2014, and I happen to have one of here. And this
Oh
is, of
man,
course,
look at
before
that
Amazon
skin.
started publishing the magazine in 2010. But Michael, you've had this extraordinary career. People know you for television. They know you for film. They know you because of your activism around the issue of human trafficking that comes up in this book. What has it been like for you now to embrace this new title of published author?
It's been a phenomenal journey. I think, as an actor, you're telling someone else's story. As a
Mhm.
writer for screenplays and films, you're telling stories about multiple characters
Mhm.
as well, but you're doing it from a visual medium. And for me as an author, or writing this book as an author, it was definitely a new experience because I see everything as a storyteller. I visually see it. So
Yes.
even my editor was saying, this feels like a book, but it feels like a movie. And I said, exactly. I said, don't edit out any of that. I want
Mhm.
people to read this and feel like they're watching a movie rather than be a traditional book. So I'm not trying to necessarily be a traditional author as much as
Mhm.
I'm trying to just be a storyteller using this format. And because this is a three-part book series, and really it's actually a streaming series, it's really a TV streaming series, but because it's so expensive, I felt it would be best to be a book first so I can
Yeah.
really purge out of me all of the characters in various storylines. So I love it.
Yeah, I love that, and I love you said it not being traditional. But what I do think people, and I said this to you, Michael, after our first conversation when I started reading Trapped, even before I finished it, was that this book was so true to you. This book, for people who have followed you, this book will be no surprise to them that this would be the book that you come out with. For one, because it does have exactly what you said. It has these strong characters, but it also has the issues that are so prevalent today. When you were writing the book, though, Michael, did it feel like something that was so present and so timely for you when you were first starting it?
Absolutely. You know, Trap really deals with so many things, right? So it deals with
Yeah.
socioeconomic dynamics in our society. It deals with how economic factors turn people into make people willing to do things that maybe they wouldn't normally do morally. So exploit others or even be
Yeah.
exploited by others. So it deals with that. It deals with this materialism and this idea where people struggle to find their real value unless they have material things to give them that value. It deals with women who are survivors of any type of abuse or trauma or exploitation, and how some of them can turn that trauma to triumph, that pain to purpose, and how some as we see in the book, can also get potentially lost in the cracks if they're not guided or met by people who are willing to guide them into, let's say, the promised land or into a more righteous lifestyle. And then it also questions throughout the book what exactly is righteous anymore for
Yeah.
today's society. Like you
Right.
have young women now who are choosing to sell themselves on OnlyFans or on Instagram and other tech based platforms. Is that feminism on steroids, or is that just the where we are right now with today's society, where women have the right to do what they want to do? And I like dissecting all of that and looking at all of that, because there's some positives and negatives to that.
Yeah. I totally agree. As you were talking just now, Michael, a couple of things came to mind. One, the fact that, people have seen you on network television talking about human trafficking, talking about exploitation before. I think what is so interesting, though, and so the reason why I was asking you about it being timely is because I think fiction, a novel, is the perfect way of discussing these real world issues.
I agree.
Because in the character of Jasmine, we're able to see so many different things. Even as the book goes on, I'll talk around this, but you know what I'm talking about. We'll see that Jasmine was not even protected even in her own home.
Yeah.
So these are things that a lot of people, men and women, can relate to. So I bring that up to ask this question. Did you see, even though the main character is Jasmine, did you see Jasmine almost as a composite of the men and women you've seen in your work, but
Yes,
also
that's a great
those that you
question.
mentioned, though, who do sometimes get left behind?
Yes, absolutely. I really wanted to form Jasmine within the traits of really all the people that I've met in
Hmm.
this movement. So over the next three books, she will be the law enforcement officers, meaning that there's a version of her that will come out where she's like law enforcement. There'll be a version of her when she's the trafficker herself. There's a version of her where she's, the victim, or she's a version of her when she was rehabilitated, and now has to make a decision between one life or the other lifestyle. She is, you said it perfectly. She is a composite of all of these different people that I've met in this 20 plus years of doing this work. And to me, that's why a book is so phenomenal, because it really allows me to really showcase all of those sides of her over this book and the next two books as well.
You have, I thought, I was thinking, and this is what's so great about watching your career, and I think anyone who has access to Google, Michael, will see that you're definitely not a monolith when it comes to the type of characters that you portrayed, but also I think the conversations you've been a part of. I want to talk about that role of not only being an activist, because that's the role I used in my introduction, but you really are someone who just uses their platform to amplify causes that matter to you. When did you make that decision? Because as you know, there are some actors who are just simply okay with, look, just let me do my thing. I'm not trying to get involved in nothing else, because I know it's going to split people. People are going to have something to say. I'm just going to. What made you say, okay, I have this platform. I want to use it for something more?
I think for me, being a black actor in the early 90s definitely is a big part of where that started. I mean, I was always, as an artist, even as a young child, when I wrote my first play when I was 9 years old, it was about the
Mm,
homeless people that I saw on the streets in New York,
yeah.
and when I found out that they were Vietnam veterans, I couldn't understand how people that fought for this country could be left on the street. So my first play was called Reminisce, and it was about that, and I was 9. So I've always had that spirit to use my creative abilities to tell stories about those people that, or about really anything in society that I guess bothered me, or caused affliction onto others.
Right.
But I would have to say in the 90s, for sure, as an actor, a black actor, I experienced a lot of racism and
Mm,
being left out, like many of my peers, of opportunities. So that was really one of the first times I realized that as an artist, I had to create in order to get the messaging that I want out.
mm. And it's something you've been able to do so well and to amplify. I want to say for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Represents on Amazon. I appreciate you guys over on the Amazon platform. Appreciate the hearts over there as well. If you guys are new to us, make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You see it either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the book that we're talking about here by Michael Cory Davis, that being Trapped City of Angels. So make sure you guys do get it for yourself, either the print edition or the Kindle edition. If you have any questions, also put those in the chat. I see you guys also over there on YouTube. Appreciate the love over there. If you guys have any questions or comments for Michael, put those in the chat as well. So this is, and again, you in many respects, Michael, starting at zero again.
Yeah.
You know, you had this career you've been able to have established as an actor. You have your fan base you built there. Then you had your work in activism that you've been able to kind of build up. Talk to us about this. What it's been like for you, because this, even though we're talking about Trap today, if people are following you on social media, they know that you also have nonfiction work you're working on now. How does that feel to be able to embrace this new type of art and to be able to embrace this new audience for yourself?
I love it personally. I can't wait to meet the readers. I can't wait to learn what readers like so I can
Yeah.
put a lot of that into book number two and book number three. Like I
Hmm.
said, this is my first book. So it's going to really help me when I get more engaged with actual readers,
Yeah.
what it is that they want to see. And I can't wait to see who they like, what they didn't like, and be able to learn. Telling stories through this medium is very different visually. Visually,
Yeah.
you have a lot of other beautiful things that you can use. So from cinematography, lighting, actors' performances. When it comes to reading Jasmine, everyone is going to hear her in their own brain a certain way. Some people may
Yeah.
not like the choices she makes. Some people may not like the way that she's read, but I way that she's written. But I think a lot of people, I think everyone will be able to connect with it. They go from the page one to the ending of the book, will be able to connect with the choices that Jasmine is faced with, because these are the same choices that we're all faced with on a daily basis. Do I quit this job? Do I work at this job? Do I take a giant leap, as in chapter 6? Do I take one giant leap and do this thing that I'm scared to do that can elevate my life? But my ego is telling me that it may hold me back. And that's a big part of everything that I do within my work. Like you mentioned, my
Right.
next book, Life Break Free Win. It's really about dissecting who we are as people, and the fact that everything in our life, as depicted in Trapped, is based on the choices that we make today. Everything. We're only guaranteed the minute that we have, per day that we're given, and then it's based on the choice that we make. So you will see Jasmine actually play out how to live your best life, not through the standpoint of her material acquisitions, though she thinks going from rags to riches is what's going to make her life best. But when she has that and she starts to basically succumb to her trauma and the environment around her, now comes the real exploration into what makes us a whole human. And it's done through a fun, gritty, really personable a style of storytelling, I think. And it's just very honest.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you just said, Michael, because it just made me think about something that comes up a few times in the book. You and I were talking about a certain incident. I won't go into it here because I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't read the book yet, but they'll know it when I ask this question. Jasmine is not by herself. And what I mean by that is, yes, she has gone through these experiences both as a child and as an adult, right? But there are people literally along the way that are there that come up in different ways, sometimes unexpected, who are there standing up for her, seeing her. Talk to us about that lesson for you. How important has it been for you to be able to recognize that the people who are in your corner, that the whole world's not out against you, that there are some people, even if you wouldn't have expected them to, are willing to stand up for you, fight for you, and see something in you that maybe you don't even see in yourself?
Wow, yeah, you hit it on the head, Cyrus. I mean, that actually was a really big part for me in the book, to make sure that it was conveyed, and so that people can see that component in life. Because I truly
Mhm.
do believe life a lot of times is based on what you're choosing to see, what your
Right.
perspective is. So for Jasmine, all throughout the book, and this is indicative of many of the survivors of various traumas that I've talked to. There, and including even in my own personal life, there have been some of the most challenging times in my life, but there was always some random person that I ran into on the street, or a random phone call, or someone who guided me in a direction. Now, again, it's up to us as the individual to determine what direction we go in. But for
Right.
Jasmine, that was her truth. When there is a chapter in the book, uh, one step forward, two steps back. I think it's you, when you make a decision and you tell God, hey, okay, I'm done. I'm ready to stop smoking, whatever it is, and that choice is made with true intention. You'll suddenly find yourself, and you'll be on the train the next day and sit next to somebody who will just strike up a conversation with you about how they stopped smoking and what they
Yeah.
needed to do. You know what I mean? In that
Yeah.
process, that's how God works. That's how spirit works. And so for Jasmine, she makes the decision to leave a certain lifestyle, and then she's guided along the way. But as with all of us, that lifestyle is always going to be tempting for her, because it's all she
Right.
knows. So
Yeah.
she's always looking or being pulled back in. So though she runs into people that may try to take her out, she's really fighting her own self. And
Hmm.
once she figures that part out, like all of us, once she figures that part out, then she'll actually see the blessings that have been laid out in front of her in the form of people and resources, if she figures that out.
Right. I want to talk about the title for a moment. And again, I'm telling my audience, I'm asking this question of Michael as a reader. He and I have not discussed this. To me, there are a few different ways the title can be, and I thought about this after finishing the book. Michael, the
Mm,
title "Trapped" can be taken. One thing that we find, and this is again, we talked earlier about choices, and sure that there were bad things kind of dealt to Jasmine, but in
mhm.
many ways Jasmine was trapped by her own decisions,
Yeah,
her own choices that she
yeah.
made. Outside of the other trapped that could be more literal, when it comes to being put in situations that are outside of your control. How much fun was that for you to play with the ways that the title could be taken, Michael, and for yourself when you decided to call the book Trapped? Which one were you leaning more toward?
You hit it on the head again. I can tell you're an avid reader. It's actually both, and others, which I won't mention. But you're right. She's trapped by her own decisions. Again, everything that I create really is about trying to help people elevate in their consciousness, right?
Right.
So seeing themselves in the characters that I create, in particular in the titular character Jasmine. So Jasmine is trapped by her memories. She's
Hmm.
trapped, which is the reason why the way the book opens, she's actually speaking from a forward state of her life, from things that she's learned about how to take yourself out of certain patterns. So she's trapped in certain patterns, certain habits, certain thinking. She's also trapped in this idea of what makes her valuable. And I wanted to, and,
Yeah.
and that's why it's Trapped City of Angels, because trapped is actually a trapped universe. So there's many different stories that will come out of Trap that are far beyond just Jasmine's,
Got it.
because ultimately we're all trapped in some ways. The person that's trapped in the marriage that they should have left, a person that's trapped in the job that they should have left, a person that's trapped in the food addiction. We're all trapped, and this entire Trap series will deal with various people in those extremes of those circumstances.
Love that. Love that. So now let's talk about where we are today, Michael. The book is now officially out. If people follow you on
Yes.
social, and we're going to let people know, of course, how to stay connected with you on social. But we saw a great unboxing video for you. What was it like for you to physically hold the book for the first time?
It was amazing. When you make a movie, you don't necessarily get to hold it. Back in the days, I guess we
Yeah.
had the DVD, and that felt good, and the film
Right.
print. But to be able to write a book, go through the whole process of the cover and the graphic treatment, and then to hold it and to open it up and to flip it. I mean, we all grow up reading, well, at least our generation, right? But I grew up reading so many books. And to be able to open it and flip through the pages and read the dedication, especially to my mom, who has been such an avid supporter for me. I mean, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for her, really. and her consistent support. So it just felt great. And honestly, what feels the best about that is the fact that I have something tangible to
Yeah.
leave behind for the future generation and for the
Right.
future, society.
Love that. So Rita, hello to you. Good bit to see you over there on IG as well. If you have any questions, appreciate you guys over there on IG. If you guys have any questions, make sure you put those in the chat. If you don't, if you're coming in late, and that's how some of you are, don't worry. The replay of this will be available on all of the platforms you're watching us on. If you guys are joining us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, there's also a link that will be able to take you to Amazon to be able to get your copy of Trap City of Angels. So let's talk about what's to come. And again, we will do this kind of spoiler free here. We kind of get an idea of what's happened with Jasmine in this book. You mentioned it's a series. Will we see more of Jasmine? I know you mentioned the universe will be
Oh,
expanded, but will we see more of her?
Jasmine has two more installments in the
Okay.
book. So
Okay.
there's going to be Trap 2 and 3, so Trap City of Angels 2 and 3. And
Okay.
then there's going to be a Trapped Empire State, which I can't talk about, but that's a completely different story based out of New York and a different female character.
Oh,
All the stories are going to be led
interesting.
by females, but
Okay.
maybe Jasmine will pop in and introduce that character at a later date. But yes, there's going to be more of Jasmine. There's going to be a series around Jasmine as well. But I'm really going to be using the book to inform me on how to go forward with the series because I really want the readers of the book to be a part of that process of creativity. And I just want to say too that the dynamic with trap that's so important is that in the current state of affairs, you were asking me about today's society. We're all talking about Jeffrey Epstein and the client list, but no one's really talking about what created a Jeffrey Epstein, a Ghislaine Maxwell, a Diddy, a Cassie. And Trap is really going to explore that. Trap's really going to look into what makes people fall onto both sides of that equation. The money for sex, the actual side of being the woman, or even in many instances, the man that is being paid for that. What creates that? And that I think has been the missing key in today's conversation about Jeffrey Epstein. It's the salacious side, but not the part to actually stop the problem in the first place.
Yeah, it's a really great point. Again, everyone, Michael Corey Davis has been our guest here on Cyrus Represents on Prime Day. The book is called Trap City of Angels. As I mentioned, here on the carousel side, you guys can see either the print edition. You can maybe get it like I did here. Also, the Kindle. Actually, I have both. I read the Kindle. I started reading the Kindle first before I got the print edition, but you can be able to get it for yourself today. Michael, we mentioned how they can stay connected. Let them know the best place to find you.
Instagram at Cory Davis. And then they can find me on my website, michaelcorydavis.com. And of course, trappedcityofangels.com takes them to all the relevant pages. There is a free chapter 1 promotional that I'm giving away right now. It won't be for a limited time, or they can listen to the chapter 1 on YouTube. So go to our trappedcityofangels.com website and click that link, and you'll be able to get a free sample there as well. And thank you so much to Amazon for just being a phenomenal partner. Truly, like, wow, I'm just so impressed at being an author and how this system has been in place to make it so much easier for us to get our content out. It's truly has been a great experience.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Michael, congratulations to you again, man. So glad to have you on the program. Looking forward to our next chat together, man.
Thank you. Thanks again, Cyrus. You appreciate
More
it.
than,
You take
more
care.
than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Take care.